Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Darshit, and on behalf of Godrej Material Handling, I welcome you all to our next and 28th webinar from our Godrej Storage and Handling series titled Trends in Intralogistics Automation and How to Find Your Best Fit. Before I move on to introduce our eminent speaker for today, let me just revisit the core purpose of running this knowledge sharing platform that is built specifically for intralogistics domain. I would say it is a Godrej way of giving back the knowledge to society and industry that we have gathered in the past 6 decades now. And I'm happy to express that time and again, the encouragement for continuing this has always increased with overwhelming response from you all. Coming to today's topic, with mankind nudging itself towards efficiency at every single breath, along with macro and micro environmental factors that are changing the shape of our interlogistics operations, a buzzword called automation has never disappointed us to astonish us every time with its vastness of application. To keep up with dynamic expectations of end user and changing work environment, we should be much informed and aware about the technologies to imbibe it in our present work process. In our upcoming webinar, Trends in Intralogistics Automation and How to Find Your Best Fit, we explore different types of operations in warehouse distribution centers and possible solutions for efficiency enhancement in handling and movement of unit load and cases. This is in continuation with many other topics that we have spoken on automations. And we are going to have close understanding of the topic from our esteemed speaker, Mr. Shakti Choube, Assistant Vice President and Head of Sales at Godrej Koerber Supply Chain Limited, a joint venture between Godrej and Boyce, India, and Koerber AG, Germany. A mechanical engineer with masters in management studies in sales and marketing, Mr. Shakti has been actively involved in solving supply chain complexities of customers in India for almost 2 decades now. He is instrumental in enhancing logistic efficiency across supply chain operations in various verticals. His primary focus has been in creating large-scale infrastructure in warehousing for integrated storage and handling. He is an avid traveler and fitness freak. Godrej Koerber has the largest installed base of automated storage and retrieval systems in India. Before I move on, I would request everyone to put in their questions in the chat box on the right side of the screen. We shall try to answer them straight away or towards the end of the session. Please do not forget to write your name in the box above the Q&A. That will help us to get back to you after the webinar in case we miss your question. With that, I request Mr. Shakti to take over and wish everyone has an insightful session. Over to you, Mr. Shakti.
Thanks, Darshit. Thanks, Darshit, for the introduction. Hello and welcome, everyone. Firstly, would like to thank you all for taking out your precious time to attend the webinar on Trends in Intralogistics Automation and How to Find Your Best Fit. If you look at your supply chain just few years back, it was a back office function. Today, supply chain has become the lifeline of your business. In fact, it is the mission critical. Your supply chain is actually a strategic advantage now. It is also getting much more complex. So on one side, you have to handle more products, more suppliers, you have to deal with various channels, and on the other side, you have your customer who want more convenience, more choice, faster speed of operations, reaching the material to them much more faster, and obviously a better price. All this leads to you to handle more number of SKU. There's always a huge pressure on the delivery speed. There is pressure on the price. at the same time managing the working capital. The increasing consumer expectations leads to increased pressure on enhancing your productivity. You always have to track and trace more products in the same warehouse, and all this you have to do while abiding to the regulation and compliances. Labor force needs to be more and more skilled than what it was in the past. And as we all know, skilled labor is a scarce commodity in the Indian market, and it is no longer that cheap. Based on a recent global survey done to understand the supply chain challenges of various organizations, it was found out that more than 90% of the customers aren't ready to handle the supply chain complexities. To add to it, less than 50% can address more than one supply chain challenge at a time. When we dwell deeper into it, it was found out that 1 in 3 of them were still relying on the manual methods of receiving, storing, picking, and packing. So this is a global scenario. When you look at the Indian context, 4 out of 5 customers are still relying on the manual systems. So this typically adds to a lot more challenges in the Indian scenario of supply chain industry. Now let us understand the basic elements of supply chain. So you have a manufacturer, from there the good moves to the factory warehouse and subsequently to the retail DC, retail and the retail store to fulfill the needs of the consumer. Let us understand the finished good warehouse. What happens there? It can be a company or it can be a 3PL. So here the number of SKUs that you are handling could range anywhere between 250 to 5,000 SKUs. So the number of SKUs are not that high. Because of that, 80% of the pallets can be handled as full pallets, and the balance 20% could be a combination of layer and cases. The number of customers that you handle here are sub 100. So there is a lesser complexity involved here. Now, as you move towards the retail, let's see the trend. So the number of SKU increases there. It can go as high as 25,000 SKUs. Obviously, because of that, the full pallet configuration drops dramatically and you're just hardly handling 5% of the full pallet. The balance 95% could be in the form of layers, cases, and items. Predominantly, cases are large here. And all this happens because you are handling much more number of customers. It can be as high as 2,500 customers. So as you move closer to the consumers, the trend shift happens. You eventually end up without handling any full pallet load, and what you would be handling would predominantly be cases and items, and that too much more number of items. And the number of customers that you would be handling here would be thousands of customers. So this is how the complexity of supply chain increases. After spending more than 2 decades in intralogistics industry, I can very confidently say that technology can help. I'm pretty sure that all of you are also aware of this fact that yes, technology can be of help. But the biggest question is what to choose. As your customers are spoiled for choices, so are you equally confused as a business that what solution I should adopt? Because you see every day in and day out different kind of solutions being offered, but what suits you is the biggest challenge that remains unaddressed. So let us try to do some justice to it. So for us to do real justice to it, we need to understand the typical flow of any distribution center. So you have an inbound and you have an outbound. Inbound typically would be more of receiving of the material. You can receive the material from the supplier, from vendors, or you can receive it from the factory production area. Outbound is typically staging for shipment or dispatch. And a lot of actions happen between an inbound and an outbound. So there is very few small items which can directly go as a cross docking, but then there is a lot more action which is happening in between. And to understand that deeper, let us look at multiple scenarios. Sometimes you can have a single SKU full pallet. In this, the level of complexity is lower. You can directly move the pallet from storage to the outbound area. At times, despite of a single SKU pallet, it need not be dispatched in full load and you have to do a partial picking out of it. The type of picking could be either in terms of layer or cases, and at times even it goes up to piece picking philosophy. So then the partial pallet comes back into the system for storage. You may also have to form a rainbow palette or a multi-SKU palette required for your customers, so that whenever you do picking and then you form a different palette which can be supplied to the distributor directly. So in all these areas, you will have a pallet handling solution involved, right from inbound to the outbound. But as you move between storage and outbound area, there is a lot more small goods handling happening. So now there are two scenarios as we could see. One is typically a unit load handling kind of systems, and the another is when you are breaking the pallet into layers or cases. So first, let's understand unit load handling solutions. So in this, there are two scenarios. One is the storage element of it, and the second is the transport. So what are the solutions available for storing the pallet? You have a lot of manual solutions out there. You can have a hand pallet truck, you can have a fork truck, reach trucks, VNA. So there is a lot of manual systems available, which is also used currently, and the use of that is also increasing. And at the same time, you also have automation. The reason of having automation, we have already seen in one of the previous slide that yes, it's not exactly like everything can be addressed through the manual way, because there is more complexity involved, more number of SKU, pressure on time, price, auto fulfillment scenarios, customization, and because of that, there is more enhanced need of automation. So in the automation side, you can have a solution like a stacker crane based solution, which does automatic storage and retrieval of the system. It can give you an excellent storage density. It provides you a very high throughput. It can also give you a very good selectivity of the pallets. Sometimes when you don't need that great selectivity of the pallet, you can also look at solutions like shuttle, which can give you a very good storage density. So these are batch in, batch out kind of concept can be done there. And for certain special applications, you can look at AGV stackers for storing of the pallets. So these are the general scenario of storage. To understand this better, I would like to show you some of the clips. So this first clip is of an automated crane system. So here you see a crane in operation. As you can see, both X and Y is happening simultaneously. Normally in a manual system, you would see that the fork truck or the reach truck goes and then the lifting thing goes up. So here it is also happening simultaneously and without any manual intervention. So the pallet is being stored automatically. This was through the forking system. Now you can have a look at the deep lane system where you can have a multi-dip system, batch in, batch out. So this is a shuttle based kind of system where a shuttle is being predominantly used to store the pallet as well as retrieve the pallet. So this is a typical retrieval of the pallet through the shuttle based system. What also happens is that as you get into some of the industries, what they need is a very high storage density. They also require a lot of inventory management stuff, but there the speeds are low. If I have to cite one of the example, that is the pharma industry, where the throughput is not that high, but other automation requirement is high. So there you can use a crane which can do an aisle switching crane. So the single crane can operate in multiple aisles of the warehouse. It can either go to the left or right. Here you could see the crane has come, it has docked down to the transfer car, and then it is moving onto the aisle where it wants to perform the operation. And now the stacker crane is being released for the operation. So this is the aisle switching philosophy with the use of transfer car solution. I will show you one more advanced technology in this, which is a curving crane kind of solution. So here the same thing, crane itself is now, instead of a transfer car, the crane is able to get into the adjoining aisle. So here it's a different crane which can move. It has 4 motors, and then it can not only move into the adjoining aisle, but it can move into any of the aisle, as you could see here. So straight away it is getting into any of the aisle. So these are various terminology where you want to adapt the benefit of automation, but at the same time you don't need that high throughputs. So you can use a aisle switching mechanism. So the typical trends in pallet storage that we could look at is crane, which is one large machine handling, storing, retrieving the pallets. Now, what is happening is that from there we are also seeing a shift where we have a mother-child shuttle or a captive pallet shuttle, which has many small machines. So you have a shuttle and then you have a satellite on the top of it. There has also been a progress in this industry where you have now roaming pallet shuttle. So it can move in X and Y simultaneously. So what we are seeing eventually is that there are more degrees of freedom and miniaturization is catching up. Now let us look at transport solution in pallet. So far we have seen unit load handling storage. Now let us look at the transport solution. So transport also, as you see, you can use a hand pallet truck for a simple operation. Forklift is very popular. You can also use battery stackers and other manual equipments. At the same time, when you really look at automation solution, you have a plethora of choice available out there where you have conveyors to move from one place to another as a fixed path. You can also have a rail guided vehicle. As the name suggests, it is a vehicle which moves on the rail and can go from point A to B to C to D, various areas. Same happens with AGVs and AMRs. Only thing is that it's a free path equipment. And I will explain you in the later part, what is the difference between an AGV and AMR. And you can also have a shuttle car which moves on two rails, which is very fast, but only from point A to point B. And then there are lifters. Lifters can help you move across multiple levels in a production facility or in a distribution centers. To understand better, let's have a look at some of the clips out there. So this is a typical pallet conveyor and a shuttle system. So you see the pallet is coming onto the through the local conveyor. There's a lifting table which is picking it up, and then it is getting onto the chain conveyor. From there, it is being transferred onto a shuttle car. So this is a twin pallet shuttle car. It can handle two pallets also simultaneously if there is a much more throughput, and this is being fed to the production area. Another technology in the similar area available is rail guided vehicle. So in RGV, here you could see a battery of RGV is operating in a loop. This is an excellent equipment which can move from one place to another at an extremely high speed. It can also take in between turn to reduce its path and use that kind of intelligence. The most solutions available in this area are AGVs and AMRs. So this is what you see as an AGV, which is actually taking the pallets out to the dispatch in the staging area. So it is taking the pallet, it is being centrally guided, and it is storing the pallet in the dispatch zone. You also have another solutions available here is like AMR, autonomous mobile robot. For those who have attended the last session, there was a complete session on AMR. And I think you would have a fair understanding about it. Those who could not attend that session can, still look at the recordings available, as Darshidhar already mentioned. So this is an AMR, which is a free path equipment. The typical difference between an AGV and AMR is that any AMR has its own navigation system, So if there is an obstruction in between, it can also change its path and move it. So that's why it's becoming more and more popular. So this is an AMR movement. Okay. So summing it up in terms of the various options available for the pallet handling, you have a conveyor, which is a fixed path thing, moving faster. And the biggest advantage that conveyors bring on the table is that you can have a buffering out there. So there are, multiple pallets or multiple cartons that you can buffer it out in a conveyor system. Rail guided vehicles, it's a mechanically guided system, very fast, very efficient system. And you can always add the number of RGVs as your business grows to increase the throughput. If you look at this schematics carefully, there is also a maintenance bay so that if there is a challenge with any RGV, it can be picked up and parked in a different parking bay, maintenance bay, where it can be, corrected, and at that same time the other RGVs can smoothly operate. So that's the advantage of RGV. Again, similarly, you have centrally guided AGVs and also the autonomous mobile robot with a much better navigation system available at its disposal. So these are the typical trends in pallet handling, and all this is complemented through the strong software, various sensors, smart sensors. Now, what a smart warehouse should look like. So if you really see this picture, this will help you understand how a smart warehouse looks like. So here, let me try and use a laser pointer to explain you a little bit better. Yeah. So what you see here is that This is a crane-based system, single deep system. So you get 100% accessibility, a decent storage density, and very high throughput. You can also have a double deep system where one pallet is kept behind the other. So this gives a much higher storage density, and you can do a relocation. So again, the throughputs are also higher, and accessibility is also decent. You can also handle 2 pallets simultaneously if your throughput is much higher. There are alternative options like shuttle to look at it, which we discussed. So there is a batch in, batch out concept. If you have same product kept here, this is quite a good system to use there, and you can have much more higher density, and you can always keep on adding shuttles. So this gives you a much faster throughput. And to complement all this, storage, you have a lot of other peripheral equipments like conveyor. Then you have conveyor integrated with the RGVs. So RGVs can move them, and you can also have an AMR which can pick it up and again, go up to the dispatch. At the same time, you also have lifters, what you call as an auto lift, which can move from material from one pallet, one floor to another. So you can do a multi-floor kind of operation here. So this is how a smart warehouse look like. So why look at only the static? Let's look at a video of a smart warehouse. So now this is the Pidilite Greenfield project. Pidilite, as we know, is a market leader in adhesive. So this is a warehouse for close to 10,000 pallet locations for raw material, finished goods, packaging material. This is an RGB which you see. So this is a crane in operation. The pallets are barcoded, so you have all the information of whatever material is going where, how you are keeping it. Few more operations. What you see here is that crane is storing a particular pallet. So let us look at various operations here. Now this packaging material is getting into the system. So it is being fed onto the conveyor, picked up by the crane, and then the crane stores it at the desired location. It updates the warehouse management software. This is the finished good storage, what we see here. Moving of the finished good through RGB to the dispatch area. Here also you have a robotic palletizer, which further enhances the speed, and it is integrated with the conveyors, and the conveyors in turn are integrated with the RGBs to take it up to the dispatch section. Now, when we look at the storage of the finished goods operation, it is the finished goods is prepared. It is brought through conveyor RGB and stored into the automated storage warehouse. The out operation, FG out, is again the similar manner. It is coming from crane, getting onto the RGB, and finally from the RGB it gives to the conveyor, and then through a fork truck it is being stored into the system. So this is how you can you see a completely integrated system being built in here. So I think you would have got a lot of answers to why to automate. That there is a lot of merit in the technology, but yes, then there are still some questions are left unaddressed. Like, is automation viable? Is it flexible enough to adapt to your business? And also the choice, what to choose is always a big question. So let's try and address these issues and get some answer. Common thought, as I said, automation always requires large investment. That's a basic thought that you have. Yes, of course, it requires investment, large or in stepwise. That is a different question to be addressed, and it's not flexible. But then no, it is not. It's a wrong notion that it is not flexible. The newest technology is solving old age problems of automation, and it has become highly flexible these days. So coming back to this thing, why automate pallet handling? So there are two predominant benefits which comes out. First is the saving of space, and second is saving of labor. Let us understand more in terms of the details. Let's say you have a 100 by 100 meter warehouse, 15 meter tall, and you are handling it completely manually, where you are using a manual material handling equipment, and there is a lot of workforce involved for doing that. When you automate this system, the benefit is that, if you go, let's say if you go instead of 15 meter, you go 30 meter and you are automating the system, then there is a 65% reduction in the footprint area. Now, reduce area mean easy operation. Again, because it is automation, it is more manless kind of operation, and you can use the balance area. The cost of construction is lower. You can use it for production activity, and there is a lot of saving in the space, which is a very clear merit out of it. Looking at another challenging aspect, which is more on terms of the labor involvement. Here you can have a reduction from 30 to 80%, means in terms of the reduction of labor of 30 to 80%. That purely depends upon your business dynamics and the level of automation that you adapt. So these are two key benefits of automation. Apart from that, there are other benefits which I am right now not touching upon, but then just to give you a flavor of that, you have very good inventory management. There is no damages of the material is reduced systematically. Your return logistics are reduced dramatically. So there are many more benefits associated with automation. Now, how to choose is the big question which I said at the beginning of the session, and I am very sure this slide will give you a fair idea about what to choose where. So as we said, there are two parts of unit-to-load handling. One is the storage and another is the transport. So let us look at the storage. Storage, if you really look at it, you have to look at it from the movements per hour perspective and the number of SKU. And when you plot various kind of solutions available in this, this is how it looks like. So when you are using a manual equipment, when you are having lesser throughput, then you can go for a manual system like reach trucks. VNA can help you to a certain extent to handle some number of SKUs. But then if you are having a higher movement per hour, means more transaction, and at the same time the number of SKU is high, then you have to use the crane based system with fork, a single dip or a double dip system. Whereas if you are having a number of SKUs are lesser and throughput is still higher, you can also use a crane based satellite. And at the same time, if your movement is extremely high and the number of SKUs are mid to a slightly in between mid to low, then you can use a automated pallet shuttle solution. Let's look at the transport avenues available to us. Again, here on the x-axis, you will always have movements per hour, and on the y, instead of SKU, it's more about the destinations that it has to reach and cover. So you can have a system when the movement is average, but the destination is very limited, then conveyor is a good fit. So is the pallet truck when the throughput is lower and the destinations are also reachable, addressable. When the number of destination increases and all, and the movement is not that high, then you can use an AGV and AMR, because AGV and AMR are also with battery enabled systems, so it cannot move extremely fast. But when you really have an extremely high number of movements involved, transactions involved, then rail guided vehicle is a very good solution for you to use, and it can reach a decent number of destinations. So I hope this slide will give you a better understanding. It is actually a framework for enabling acting as an enabler for selection of the right technology for your various applications. Now let us look at the second scenario. What we have is that what happens when you are shipping less than full pallet quantity. And this is typically where we have that, order fulfillment or the evaluation of order picking solutions. So we'll touch upon two scenarios here. One is when you are picking up layers and the another is case picking. So in this slide, let us focus on the layer picking technology. One of the options which can be there is a manual, which is already there being used. So you have a manually person reaching out there. At best, he can be assisted with some kind of voice picking or pick to light. This is a low investment scenario. The flexibility is high. The challenges are coming out of it is very evident. That is, the productivity is not that high. It is ergonomically challenging because the person is involved here and it requires a lot more space. Now what happens, you can substitute it by a mechanical system, mechanized system, where you can have on a fork truck, you can mount grippers. Again, investment is not that high. The productivity is boosted. But there are some set of challenges which are unaddressed by this system also. That is, it can handle only limited product complexity and eventually needs skilled operator to handle these kind of systems. Let's look at a fully automated kind of system where you have a robot picking. So productivity undoubtedly is the highest. You can handle n number of SKUs. And it can also handle very different type of product, difficult product in terms of, any kind of product, because here you have the flexibility, you can customize the gripper required for the particular application. Investment obviously in automation is going to be the initial investment is going to be higher and it will have its own learning curve to fulfill your business needs. Another technology that we have is the case picking technology. Again, in the manual scenario remains the same. Like in the last slide, the person was picking cases and forming a layer. Here also the person can, he can be assisted by voice picking or pick to light, and he will still manually pick the items. But then the efficiency is lower. If you want to enhance your productivity by continuing the philosophy of person to goods approach only, you can enhance this by use of robot. So here what you see, there is a robot, the person is there, so he doesn't have to pick up that heavy load. The robot is assisting, doing the manual job for him, and this system can be 30% more efficient than a purely person picking. There are better ways when we move from person to a goods to person philosophy, where the efficiency can increase by 50%. You can use robots and they can get you the particular goods where you want them. You can further enhance this efficiency, taking it to the level of 70-80% when you by use of a lot of light good conveyors, sorting system, creating various chutes and shuttle systems. So all these help you to really enhance your productivity significantly. So these are basically unit load, and what we have also seen is a lot of case handling. So this covers the complete gamut in terms of the unit load and also the more importantly case picking, which is like right from the manufacturing to the warehouse operation to the final dispatch used in the distribution center. Now let us look at it. What are the, how the paradigm shift is happening even in automation? Like there are a lot of new age technologies which are coming up. You all would be hearing about digitization, artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, and now we have 5G coming up. So there are many more things which are going to play a significant role in shaping up automation. So let's understand more about that. To begin with, let us look at what is happening in the area of automation. So there, the consumer preference is changing, so this is leading to all the change. Consumer can now on their fingertips order the particular item, and this is leading to acceleration of the supply chain and calls it's a pro-automation kind of movement happening out here. A general interest is seen in automation to reduce human dependencies, because human, again, we have seen so many challenges, skilled manpower requirement, which is not easily available. The cost is going up. Again, it is very demanding for the human because ergonomics issues are there, and this too much becomes a daunting task. And if you have to fulfill your customer expectations, completely relying on the human is not the answer. Then again, in automation, there are avenues where people look at, should we look at OPEX solution or should we look at one-time CapEx or rather a gradual CapEx? And there is an increased focus on digitization, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and even, IoT. So let's understand this better. So what is happening here? Look at the right side, extreme right, if you look at that graph. So with time, your organization growth story continues, you continue to growth, and that is leading to the increase in the throughput of your warehouse. Now, by automating, what you do is that if you are automating in a larger increments, you are always above the curve. So the red line, which is your growth, you are above it, and you are always creating an overcapacity. You can do it in steps. You do some level of automation, and then after 3 years, 5 years, do another wave of automation, and all these things will take you to always be on the top of the things. There is another way of looking at automation. So let's say this is like adding capacity as you grow. So what do I mean by that is that you can look at certain avenues, where there are more bottleneck, where there are more challenges. So maybe you are using some kind of picking, some kind of sorting, or you are using an AMR. So these kind of automated solutions, you can scale up in smaller increments. They are independent systems. They can address the challenges of that particular zone, and then you can, also phase out your investments in a gradual manner and go on increasing your efficiency. So these are certain flexible options available. Now also let's look at this thing. If you look at it from a different lens, on the right side again, just if you look at that, the blue color is your typical workload, which keeps on varying based on your seasonality, peak load, customer demand. And the traditional automation, you always have an automation which is above your existing workload. So you have an inbuilt overcapacity built into the system. Okay, so you're on the top of the things I mean to say. But then again, there is a certain investment required to achieve that. Now, this is the something. Now, if you look at this graph, something as a collaborative automation. Now, what is a collaborative automation? It is a combination of automated systems with a person. So what you can do is that collaborative automation can bring you up to a certain level. Your workload is slightly higher than that particular level. And here you can involve a flexible labor for that scenario where the labor can keep on, increasing and decreasing depending upon your workload scenario. So these are certain options. This can help you provide that additional flexibility, and it can give you a much better return on investments. Now, the another important topic is digitization. So we see a lot happening here, like, so what happens with the software and systems in place? There is a lot of data which is being generated. So what we call as, the big data. So there is a big data out there, and you can do a lot of things with that big data. Okay, so it is important to really filter that data by the use of various digitization tools and use of artificial intelligence, which further enables that big data to really coordinate with the automated equipments. So now this I will share a practical example with you for a layer picker. So there is a lot of data which is being generated, which is the operations happening in a particular warehouse, and that is being fed into this particular layer picker, understands that, and because of that it is able to optimize. It can change its parameter setting. There are different kind of program. It will prompt you for selecting different kind of program in different phases of operation. Eventually you can do a better order scheduling and have a material flow optimization in that particular zone. Not only that, this system can also give you predictive maintenance. Now, what you have is normally a preventive maintenance which we follow. So, let's say maintenance once per quarter. But here it is predictive maintenance. The difference between a preventive and a predictive is that preventive is basically the duration maintenance, whereas predictive is telling you more in terms of the number of cycles that the system has performed. So this is a much more smarter and an intelligent way, and the system is already telling you well in advance when you need to do what. So we see this kind of application not in the supply chain. There is also a lot more happening in the automobile and the other industry. And this is not only limited to a layer picker. It can these technologies and terminologies can be used, for various other equipments, the stacker cranes, and other automated systems also. Now let us understand, let's say there is a project, you decided you are having a particular normal manual warehouse, and then eventually you decide that you want to go for an automated system. So the gap between your actually the project happening on site, in between that you can use various tools, like you can use simulation, you can also use emulation. What this will help you is that you're seeing what you are able to see beforehand what you are going to get. So here if you look at it in the center, you have the crane movement being simulated, and on the left and right you are seeing the layer pickers, various kind of movements, gantry equipments and all. So you have an automation which you can see as you turn around. You could see this conveyor flow also we can see. So how it is the pallets or the material is moving from the automated system onto the conveyors, how it is going to move in the actual scenario. So this is actually testing before installation. All this can help you visualize what is going to happen. And if you see that, okay, there is going to be some areas of bottleneck or some kind of challenges, then you can explore improvement at an early stage, even, before it is physically implemented. So this is what the smartness that can be brought about by various, software tools, which you can utilize. So as we see, yes, the speed or the dynamics of intralogistics automation is changing at a very rapid pace. It is on a peak, but there is always going to be a new peak formation, and eventually the model solutions are also catching up. It's no longer only the traditional solution. The model solution gives you a lot more flexibility, scalability, and affordability that was not possible before. So these are certain more advantages that we have in this. So while selecting automation, what is important is that first is that you need to understand your application better and what are the solutions. I think this presentation would have helped you to understand the various application and the kind of solutions that you can look forward to. Important thing is equally important is to select the right partner, especially the right system integrator who has a deep knowledge about your domain, your industry expertise on one side, and on the other side has a good hands-on in terms of the technology. So a good amalgamation of that, who can bring in the right solutions, for particular applications and the right level of software. All this combination is going to enhance your productivity significantly. So in conclusion, and to wrap up the session, what you could see is that there are certain sectors which are going to invest much more in automation. Predominantly, we see FMCG, food and beverages, e-commerce, cold chain, because there is a lot of consumer demand. But it is not going to be limited to only these sectors. There are certain sectors which have adapted automation much before, like pharma and other, and they will continue to adapt automation. There are much more segments. In fact, each and every segment is going to be eventually adapting some or the other kind of automation. That is one of the key takeaways. The another shift in the event was because of the black swan event of COVID, which you have all seen. So initially we always have a fear like, will technology work? Will it not work? Today we are doing, the presentation with the use of technology. So there are various technology in post that we have seen that there is more and more technology is going to gain traction post COVID era. Actually, it's not a post-COVID era. We are still fighting with it. But again, this has taught us that technology, can be used much more effectively and efficiently, and we can rely on it. The investment in the automation is also going not necessarily as you have seen that it's not going to be a one-time big investment. You can always do a stepwise investment. It gives you a lot more flexibility. And there are certain tools like digitization, artificial intelligence, IoT, machine learning, 5G, all these things are going to make the supply chain industry much more resilient. Eventually, all this is going to help you conquer supply chain complexity and boost your productivity significantly and make your customers happy. So thank you for paying attention. And if you have more queries, the forum is now open to any questions that you have.
Okay, fantastic, sir. This is like a capsule that you have made out of all the knowledge that you have gathered in 20 years now. And starting from why should we have an automation? What are the processes that goes through in automation for maybe any sector, maybe manufacturing unit, a 3PL logistic, or a warehouse, of storage warehouse. Let's say for of a distributor, you have covered everything. I mean, even you have not left the e-commerce processes where they use QR robots to pick up the order picking, what they call it, and concluded so well. I'm very sure that the people who are here means they are very clear now that how should they go about an automation and not scared about the word automation now, means that way. And we'll take on the questions now. So okay, so the first question is what about the integration part of the AGV and AMR with our WMS? Would it be compatible with SAP?
Yeah, certainly. So see, you can integrate any automated system, be it AGV, be it AMR, or crane-based system or shuttle-based system. You can integrate it not only with a SAP, you can integrate it with SAP with SAP WM module. You can integrate it with other softwares also like SQL. You can even go to an extent further where you can actually integrate these systems with even the enterprise even software. So there is always a warehouse management software and there is always going to be an ERP on the other side. So there is some level of customization based on what flow of information you need on the either side. This is what you have to use, and then you can integrate. It is very very possible. A lot of projects have been done in India and globally integrating these systems.
Okay, great, fantastic. So the next question is how blockchain technology is going to play part in warehouse automation. Would it impact, or how would the warehouse automation change or adapt? Will have to adapt blockchain technology.
Yeah. So there is a very old saying, when I was doing my management, read Peter Drucker, so those who
Yes,
have, we would have read that, and it always used to mention that technology will continue to advance and amaze us. Now, Peter
yes,
Drucker has written this book somewhere in, I would say, 1980s and all that. So that
yes.
man has that visibility, like what is going to happen for 30, 40 years down the line. And see, this is something we really there are a lot of technology which are going to come. We started with a basic automation, PLC based automation, then moved on to software. From software, we are talking about machine learning, digitization, which I touched upon, artificial intelligence, IoT and blockchain. Again, so it's like you have a cryptocurrency on one side, you have blockchain on the other side. So all is going to any kind of these things which are going to what you have to remember is that if it is going to add value to your business, if it is going to help you reach your customer quicker, in a better way, serve your customer much more efficiently, then these things are always going to further only grow, and automation is going to really catch up with these kind of software things. So and it's like out of it's it's a known secret. What I would say is that all these technologies are going to, we are only at the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more things which are going to happen.
Yes, indeed, indeed, sir, indeed. So before I move on to the next question, an announcement to all the viewers that we've got this feedback form, okay, in the chat box, okay. So means I would request everyone to fill the feedback form and let us know what topics we should come up in the next webinar, and how do you like this listen, the continuation of it. Okay, thank you. So the next question would be, is there any mechanism to calculate ROI if I plan convert my warehouse to a fully automated warehouse?
Yes, there are very specific tools when you want to move from a manual warehouse to a full warehouse. The typical certain things that you can look in terms of an ROI is that see, you would have seen that one of the advantage that you got here was in terms of the storage density. Okay, so now if you look at storage density in terms of one of the important element would be saving in the land cost. So you may be paying some rent for that land, or you may be buying a land. So that is one area. Second area could be the construction cost of that additional footprint area. So let's say you are doing a manual warehouse, so it's a much bigger warehouse, whereas in automation it is going to be much more compact. So that is on the land front. Secondly, you may have labor calculation. So let's say you require an in an X now X is the number of the labor required. Possibly automation will bring it down to 0.3x, 0.4x. So what is the cost of the man per hour, or per day? That kind of cost you can add. Secondly, you can go a further lot more steps deeper into it. Like how is your business running? Like what is your inventory management happening? To really expand on this, let's say when you do your audits, you may see that there are certain items which are missing and you don't have a track of it. So what is that percentage on an annual basis? When you use automation, that percentage should not be there. Practically, it should be zero. So that is another benefit. Then damage of goods. In a manual way of handling, there is going to be a lot more damage. In an automation way, that damage you are going to, actually eliminate or reduce it very significantly. So, these are some of the few benefits that you are going to always have. And the most important trigger is that, something which we which cannot be put in a practical number. That is your CSI, customer satisfaction index.
Yes.
So that is something which is going to give you a right answer.
Correct. Correct. Very well said, sir. Yes. So, which are the industries in India do you see adapting this automation very fast? Despite we've got a large workforce to be imbibed in or absorbed in. So, which industry do you see? I don't know, would go for automation very soon? Adapt.
Yeah, that's a good question. So,
Yes.
if I look at the 2 decades of journey, initially it started with some set of customers, especially the industry. The early adapters were more from the pharma segment, because what
Okay.
used to happen in pharma is that they require a lot of automation because they have that US FDA audits, and automation helps them in tracking the inventory. Secondly, they were using air conditioned warehouse, so reduced footprint means that a lot of saving on the OPEX cost. But today, if you really look at last 10 years, so right from pharma, textile, FMCG, food and beverages, I would say any manufacturing industry for a pallet kind of automation, unit load handling automation. And when I move on the distribution center, e-commerce, retail, these are the industries, even 3PL are using those smaller flexible automation like pick to light, put to light, voice
Yes.
picking. So across the value chain of the industry, you are seeing a complete adoption of automation. Yes, obviously, certain industry the adoption is much more, and the others are catching up. But then there are very different industries where we have used automation, even engineering automation. And forget about it only as a private sector. You would be surprised that in government of India, various like railways, defense, and many other applications, there has been 15 to 20 ASR is being done in India.
Oh God, that's good to know. Okay, so the next question is about what height or throughput ASRS makes economical change over manual racking system.
Okay. So let me first address the height, and then I will touch upon throughput. So if you
Okay.
look at the height, see, ASRS predominantly is more suitable for a greenfield project. So I think this should be the first thing which you should take at the stage of your planning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so because when the advantage of that is, you can plan the warehouse based on your future needs. So you can decide what height you need to go, what is the footprint area. So this is the first thing where you could look at it, and it is also a long lead item. Means to construct a auto warehouse will take you anything from 9 to 12 months. So that is the first on the table which you should use as an option to evaluate. Let's say you feel that that's not a very suitable option, then you can go to manual, because manual system, normal racking or a fork truck, you can get it in 3 months, 4 months. So this is the philosophy of how you should look at it. Height of the system in the existing warehouse, ASRS will find limited application. I would not say, because I have we have seen ASRS which is as low height of 6 meters. Okay, you
Oh,
will always have in 6 meters, 8 meters, 10 meters also, because then the application is more different. It is more in terms of catering to the throughput and the other challenges of order fulfillment. But if you want to get a good mix of ASRS, then you should look at this system when you are really 15 meters and above.
okay, okay,
Uh,
great.
Throughput wise, yes, throughput, see, the throughput for various industries it will differ, but I can give you, a thumb rule kind of thing is that when you really see that very frequently you have to keep on adding manual operation, or you have to keep on adding manpower very, very frequently, and your business growth is much faster than a normal, year on year growth. And I think
Okay.
that is something which is a trigger for automation, or you are diversifying into a new product portfolio, or your customer is starting asking more customization, which calls for more number of SKU. So in such applications, you can also look at automated systems.
Okay, great, great. So, what percentage of warehouses are fully automated in developed countries? Generally, benchmark means wherein means even we could see in India as we are developing. So, what percentage of automated warehouse we would have in future? So,
So if you're looking at a fully automated system, or warehouses globally, That would be still, I would say sub 20%, even lower
Right.
than that, because we are talking about full level of automation. I am talking about,
Correct. Correct.
complete integrated automation.
Yes.
But if you
Yes.
are looking at globally, how many, what percentage of industry is adopting automation? The answer of that was in one of the survey slides which I shared, that one out of three are doing manual. So that means
Yes.
two are
Yes.
having some or the other kind of automation. So
Correct.
65% ballpark are having some or the other kind of automation globally.
For
Whereas
their operation.
in India, yeah, we are right now catching up. So I think the automation penetration overall would be in the range of 20% or something, and rest 80% still continues on a manual front.
Great. For India, even 20% is a big thing. I mean.
Yeah, because now it is really, somewhere someone is investing more in technology, and means technology investment is going to grow leaps and bounds. Uh,
Correct. Yes.
the CAGR is going to be much higher.
Yes, sir. Sure. Sir. So, do you see automation adoption only in warehouses in tier one cities in India, or how is it?
No. See, automation actually is not, yes. When you want to start, you want to start it close to you, where you can manage, because there is always an apprehension, will automation work or not? If it doesn't
Yes.
work, we should be able to do some plan B and all that. But automation works anywhere. Yes, obviously, you need to always look at the right solution first, and then second, the right system integrator.
Right.
Because, we have seen. Automation systems in India being done in remote places like Baddi, Sikkim, and even for that matter,
Oh,
Jammu and other
yes.
places, which are fully automated systems.
Okay. So means we are getting more questions now, but I'll looking at the time, I'll take one more question, one last question. Okay, so what are the minimum requirements that a company must have to venture into automated warehouse journey like WMS, etc. and all?
Okay. So first is the change in the mindset. The change in the
Mhm.
mindset, the forward-looking management, and secondly, not only in terms of the top management,
Mhm.
any automation change also calls for a cultural change in the organization. Okay, so that is
Okay.
the change. Change management is an important thing, that why we are doing something and what is the benefit that is going to come out of it. That's the first. Second is you have to invest in infrastructure, because automation, you need to have a good connectivity also for the automated systems to work. So that is something where you have to invest in the infrastructure. And then I think you are good to go. Then it is up to you what level of automation you want to adapt and the phases in which you want to move it.
Indeed, indeed. So most important thing is to change the mindset. Means it starts from there actually. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you would be surprised, means, if I really look at it, uh, uh, as early as 2005 or 6, we have, promoter-driven organization who have put large automated warehouse, because they were more forward-looking, and then, that's how they
Oh,
have been able to grow their business multiple times. So it's all
indeed.
about mindset. You
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
be visionary.
Yes, yes. It's always mind over matter, sir. Yeah.
True,
Uh,
true,
Great,
Darshit.
great. Yeah. Great, sir. So I would like to thank all of our attendees those who took time and came here to listen to us. And thank you, Mr. Shakti. Means, I mean, yesterday, as we were talking, you were very skeptical that whether this this presentation would work or not, means whether people would like it or not. But I could see from the questions that how much they have liked it, and how you have means put everything in automation in a simple way to the point. Everyone means a college student would also understand what you were talking from the questions, the nascent questions. I could understand this. And yes, sir, thank you once again. And I would wish you a very happy Diwali to you and everyone around you and all our attendees. With this, I take your leave, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank, thank
Thanks a
you, thank
lot.
you, sir.
Wish you all a
Yes,
very
sir.
happy Diwali.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes. Take care. Yes.